Patrick Mahomes is going to keep doing what he's doing. He's going to keep winning against these inferior quarterbacks. And these quarterbacks are they're gonna be like what Michael Jordan did to Charles Barkley, to Karl Malone, to Stockton, to Gary Payton and all of them. They're gonna be remembered like that. The era of Mahomes and the QBs that he prevented from getting a championship. That's what they're gonna be remembered as. Play the song with your heart. Play the song with your heart. Hey, one time. What is good, YouTube? This your boy Aaron.
It's Brian. Salute.
And this is the Courtside View podcast, and we are back today for another episode, and we are reacting to the NFC Championship game and the AFC Championship game. So I want to go to the AFC Championship game before we get to the, you already know, NFC Championship. There's a lot to discuss, but let's go to AFC. I picked the Ravens to win this game, and I'll have to say this before we dive into a deeper pause. I'm never betting against Patrick Mahomes ever again. I didn't place a bet, but I'm just saying I'm never picking against Patrick Mahomes again. He would have to have somebody would have to cut his arm off, cut his leg off in order for me to pick against Patrick Mahomes, because that's how great he is. Patrick Mahomes in a one game scenario, live or die scenario, I don't know how you can pick against Patrick Mahomes in the scenario. I was watching this thing on First Take where they were debating one game for your life, Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady. And I ain't gonna lie, I might have to go with Patrick Mahomes in that one. That's how great he is. That's how good he is, man. But that's a different discussion for another day. I'm just letting you know how much I believe in Patrick Mahomes and how much I was at fault for not believing that Patrick Mahomes can prevail against Baltimore. And this game right here just screamed why Patrick Mahomes is the best in the world. Obviously, he didn't have his greatest performance, but what makes a great quarterback is not just putting up great numbers when matters most. It's realizing what the team needs from you. At that game, what the team needed from Patrick Mahomes was not the 400 yards passing, the 5 touchdowns. It was manage the game. Don't put your team in harm's way. You know, if the play is dead, throw the ball away. Don't take the sack. Don't take unnecessary risk. And that's what Patrick Mahomes did. 0 turnovers, 1 sack. And that 1 sack, they were in the lead. And they had the game at hand. That's what makes a great quarterback, is that they understand what the team needs from them when it matters most. And Patrick Mahomes does that all the time. And it was great to see. It was great to see just the Chiefs defense was obviously the story of the game. They dominated from first quarter to fourth quarter. There was no stopping that defense, and the Ravens had no answers for them. I'll let you speak on the Baltimore side of things because I want to get your sort of reaction to that, and I'll also give a little bit on that as well. So, just first of all, what is your reaction to the game, and then just speak to what the hell went wrong with Baltimore?
Okay. So I want to say first, I did pick the Chiefs, obviously because I wasn't betting against Pat Mahomes again, and I just didn't see the Ravens being able to win this one, honestly. And truth be told, the Ravens defense actually did pretty solid. You hold Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs to 17 points, you should win that game. But lo and behold, the Ravens offense, I'll get into that in a little bit. But as far as how the game went pretty much almost exactly how I thought I said it would, as far as the Ravens' performance in the second half. I said the Ravens were a good first half team, but Lamar in EPA and quarterback EPA in the league, he is 15th in the second half. And as far as the Ravens' passing offense in the second half, it's towards the bottom of the league after halftime, which is I knew that was going to be an issue going against a Steve Spagnuolo led defense, and we all saw what happened. The Ravens really, Lamar started throwing picks, and then the receivers was doing some weird stuff. Zay Flowers thinking he's Barry Sanders in the open field instead of just running straight for an easy touchdown. or at least getting close to the foul line, taunting calls, all type of stuff, just walky stuff just happened. But as far as what went wrong for the Ravens, I don't know what Lamar was thinking. I don't know if he was trying to disprove the narratives that he can't throw the football
The
or that he's not a
naysayers.
real QB because he likes to run. But there were so many lanes, so many open. It's like Steve Spagnuolo dared him to use his legs to win the game, and they were insistent on throwing the ball. They they had, I believe, 16 rushes. Pacheco had like 10 in the first quarter.
Hmm.
And it's weird because the Bills were able to run the ball pretty efficiently against the Chiefs.
Hmm.
And the Ravens, when the limited rushing attempts they had, they were successful at it.
Hmm.
Gus Edwards, Justice Hill, even short passes out the backfield going for 10 plus yards. So I'm confused what that game plan decision was for Todd Monken that deviated from, like, they literally pulled the Cowboys. They stopped doing what got them there
Hmm.
when they saw a team that they thought was a threat. And I don't understand what, like, it seemed like Pat Mahomes ran more than Lamar did. Brock Purdy ran more than Lamar did. Are you kidding me? Like,
Hmm.
this is ridiculous. And even OBJ was on the sideline like, yo, the whole dynamic changes when you're running. What the F is going on?
Hmm.
So I don't know what was going on. It was the mental thing. I don't know if Lamar was just like, he got his money. So I'm not sure if it's trying to prevent injury. And you can't be trying to play all cautious and timid when the Super Bowl is on the line. The team held Pat Mahomes and the Chiefs to 17 points,
Hmm.
and you put up 10.
Hmm.
That's unacceptable. It really is. So that's pretty much where it all went wrong with the Ravens. Lamar, he was doing some funny stuff, like that strip sack. He held the ball for 4.3 seconds. You got to know, NFL, you should be like, I'm holding this ball for pretty long, huh? And you just got to just take off. It was mad space too. And like, this is Lamar's, what, 6th year in the league?
Something like that.
Yeah. I'm sorry, these are just unexcusable at this point, especially from a two-time MVP. And I know everybody loves Lamar. We all love Lamar. But listen, a lot of this game is on Lamar, truthfully, because he just wasn't doing what he had to do. And I
Hmm.
know everybody wants to play. Oh, but he. I don't care how many MVPs he won. He didn't get the job done. He has. You know what's funny? Look, Dak Prescott has better playoff stats than Lamar Jackson. But one gets labeled a choker and one gets labeled not a choker. That's neither here nor there. That's just a example of how funny everybody is when it comes to picking favorites in the league at their QB and stuff. But yeah, man, and the Ravens defense played fine. They played
Hmm.
fine. They had to force Pat Mahomes into making a lot of tough throws, a lot of tough catches. Like Travis Kelce, that one catch, I don't know if that was third down, but
I
he
think it
like,
was third down.
yeah, it was like third down. Pat Mahomes got out the pocket, turned his hips, threw the ball, and then Travis Kelce had to like dive and catch it in a
Hmm.
weird position. Like, they had to work for all them points. But then the second half comes around, and the Ravens defense got even better. I think the Chiefs had maybe 3 first downs that second half.
Let me see. I know they didn't score a whole lot. That
They didn't score at all.
they didn't score at all that second half. Let me see. Hold on. It
It was seventeen
was
seven at the half. They didn't score at all.
so looking at the scoring drives for the Chiefs. They scored with Travis Kelsey that first quarter. They scored in the second with Isaiah Pacheco, and
And then they got a
then
field goal
they got a
before half,
field
right?
goal in the
Yep.
second quarter. So you're right, they didn't score in the second half at all. That's
And I believe they had less than 3 first downs too, which is,
mhm.
bruh. Now I know Zay Flowers, he fumbled what would have been a game changing type of possession. But what
Right,
about all the other possessions
right.
that just didn't work out? And this is partial. This is on Jim Harbaugh too. What exactly does Jim Harbaugh do? Do you know? We
Uh,
know he's the head coach. We know he's like a
yeah,
players type coach. But what
yeah.
exactly does he do? I'll tell you what he does. He sits there with 8 seconds left in the half and a timeout and sees Harrison Bucker just walk out there and just kick the ball like he normally does. I don't care what the odds say. Oh, what's the point of even using a timeout? You're trying to win and go to the Super Bowl. You have no use for that timeout. in the freaking halftime locker room, you might as
Mm-hmm.
well use it. So I mean, this is just a bunch of stuff, man. It's Mike McDonald isn't the Mike McDonald is not the reason they lost this game. I'll tell you that much.
No,
His unit
no.
played pretty well.
Yeah, for real. They really
Todd
did.
Monken, your game plan was trash. I don't know why you thought you could just continue to pass the ball against the Chiefs when they were daring you to run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
The boxes weren't completely stacked, all that. Yeah, they had four down linemen consistently, but they ain't stopped the Chiefs from running the ball. So yeah, I
You're right.
don't. It was just a whew, a
Yeah.
lot of things went wrong there.
Just speaking on your point about the rushing, I'm looking at the stats right now, and Lamar, he had 8 carries, Gus Edwards had 3 carries, and Justice Hill had 3 carries. Lamar averaged 6.8 yards per carry. Gus Edwards averaged 6.7 yards per carry. Now Justice Hill, he wasn't really good, but the two main dudes that get the most rushing yards for the Ravens average 6.8 and 6.7 yards per carry, and they abandoned it when the
Hmm.
game it was a low scoring affair and the game was in grabs. But they decided we're going to air the ball out, we're going to go away from our identity, and they lost the game because of it. And see, that's what happens when you're playing in the playoffs in a win or go home scenario. Just for whatever reason, some of these teams they just forget who they are and they abandon what their identity is because they're nervous. They adversity hits and they just scrambling to find something to use when you should take a deep breath and you should remember who you are in these moments. But they didn't do that. Lamar Jackson didn't do that when the team needed him to do that because like you said, there was many times where there was running lanes for him to go to, but he kept holding the ball long in the pocket. He kept holding the ball, trying to find receivers, trying to, see if he can get receivers to get open. But it wasn't the case because that secondary with Snead and with McDuffie are really good. And he should have just, it's okay to go back to old reliable at times, which is rushing the football. And it is what it is, man. Like Lamar, I was very disappointed with him. I'm surprised you didn't mention that play at the end with Isaiah Likely when he had his hand up and he was triple
Yeah,
covered.
yeah, that
Now,
was.
now
Ugh.
I will say this about Lamar: if you're going to throw that ball, make sure that the ball is in an area where only Isaiah Likely can grab it. He underthrew the football, and it should have been at the tail end of the end zone, where Isaiah Likely he'll have to like reach out and try to grab it, and then he'll probably try to tippy tap toe on the end zone like that. That way, the DBs won't have a chance to try to grab it. But he didn't do that. He didn't do that at all. He just was like, I'm gonna just air it out, expecting Isaiah Likely to turn into 2013 Calvin Johnson and to moss everybody. That's not gonna happen.
I
And
don't even think
that was a huge mistake.
Megatron catches that. That was a poorly thrown ball. He threw it
Very
right to his
poorly thrown.
chest.
Exactly.
It was it was behind
It should
aimed
have
at
went
chest level.
it should have went all the way above instead of to
I,
his chest area. And that's the
exactly.
problem. And see, that frustrated me a lot with Lamar is that his just decision making was totally off that game. And he just looked so nervous. It's like he was trying to prove a point that I can throw from the pocket, that I'm proving these haters wrong. I'm proving these naysayers wrong, that I'm not just this running back playing quarterback, that I actually am one of the elite pocket passers in the league. Well, this game proved the haters right. You're not one of the elite pocket passers in the league, unfortunately. And I'll say this. I feel like we need to have this conversation about this because we do it with point guards in the NBA. There's a difference between who's the best player and who's the best quarter. Well, let me say this. When we're ranking quarterbacks and when we're ranking best players. I feel like there should be a different conversation when it comes to the quarterback position nowadays, because a lot of these quarterbacks nowadays, like Lamar, are dual threats, right? And they're not the traditional type of quarterback. And with Lamar, I look at him and I say, we put him in these, oh, he's top two as a QB, he's top three as a QB. And we put like, okay, he's a better player than this person. I feel like we should try to separate the two, because when it comes to playing the quarterback position, I look at Lamar and I say, is he a better is he a better quarterback than Joe Burrow? Is he a better quarterback than obviously Mahomes? Is he a better quarterback than whatever you want to name? I'm just saying, like, maybe we should separate the two. Maybe you can say, oh, Lamar is a better player than Joe Burrow, but as a quarterback, he's not better. That's how you feel about that. Trying to separate the best player, to like best quarterback.
I don't think that's necessary to separate them because, truth be told, I don't think Lamar's better than Josh Allen. Every time we see Josh Allen in the playoffs, except that one game against the Bengals, where he looked god awful. Josh Allen has put up really good stats. I think he has 24 touchdowns in the playoffs and maybe 4 interceptions or 4 turnovers in general. After being a turnover, we see Josh Allen rise in the playoffs year after year, besides a couple 2 games in the past 2 years or so. But we see Lamar in the playoffs, it's like he drops. He's a playoff dropper. I saw a Photoshop of him with the face of Embiid. That's how
I
you
saw
know
that.
it's
I saw
bad.
that too. I
That's
saw
how
that
you know
too.
it's bad.
Yeah,
So
whatever.
I can't put. I know Lamar's 2 times MVP, and everyone like, well, how can you put Josh Allen with 2 times MVP? Are we not watching the playoffs? Would you say
Mm.
Josh Allen was the reason they lost that game against the Chiefs?
Nah, he's
I
not. I wouldn't
wouldn't.
say he's the main reason why they lost. No. But with Lamar, you can argue that he was the main reason why they lost. Even though the play calling was very skeptical, there were times in that game where he could have just took it in his own hands and said, "I'm gonna run the ball," instead of throwing it. And there was running lanes for him to do that, and he elected not to, and that's on him. At the end of the day, that's on him. I'll say this, because a lot of times, I see people in the conversation, see people in the Twitter to defend certain quarterbacks and whatever. Like, oh, this player on his team made this mistake. He dropped this pass. But I look at what Patrick Mahomes has to go through, and I say to myself, Patrick Mahomes, he had a player fumble the ball in the end zone, and guess what? What did he do? He came through at the end. He didn't say, "Oh, I'm a fold under pressure," like some of these other players do, because the Bills, they got the ball and they didn't score. They didn't take advantage of the situation. While with Mahomes, when a turnover happens on the other team, what does he do? He takes advantage of the situation. And that's what the greats do. That's what Tom Brady does. That's what a lot of these greats do, is that when you make a mistake, when you give them the ball back, they're going to make you pay. And see, that's where I look at when people try to make these excuses for, oh, the reason the Ravens lost is because Zay Flowers fumbled the ball and all the other stuff. Zay Flowers mistakes. Well, Patrick Mahomes has dealt with that too, and he
Did
still
Zay
was able to
Flowers
find
make
a way.
Lamar throw in a triple coverage? And did he also make Lamar hold the ball for 4 seconds and get strip sacked?
Exactly, exactly. Or oh, the refs cheated. Now there are times where yes, the refs will intervene. I will say the only team that hasn't, in recent memory, the one team that has a good excuse for saying the refs screwed us over was the Saints in 2020, no, 2018. That's the only team I could look to and I say, okay, the refs definitely screwed y'all over. Like, that was blatant. Like, if you guys, if they call that, if they call that a penalty, they probably would have won that game. But that's the only team I look at and I say, all right, the refs screwed y'all over. But besides that, every game, there's gonna be missed calls. There's gonna be calls that are not going your favor. But at the end of the
See,
day, what are you
the
gonna do
thing
about it?
is, the thing is, I understand they could say, "Oh, the refs," but like one, you were committing those penalties. I've seen them in trust. I know what lopsided penalties look like in ticky tack
Mm-hmm.
call, but usually you can see correlations between discipline and penalties and discipline with the football. I mean, they had 8 penalties for 95 yards, but they also had 3 turnovers. So they came into the game undisciplined.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm not buying that excuse, honestly. The
Yeah.
Chiefs they had 3 penalties for 30 yards. No turnovers though. Pat Mahomes didn't even have a turnover worthy throw. So I
Managing the
mean,
game. Managing the
exactly.
game. That's the thing. That's another thing. When you're playing an elite team like the Chiefs, when you're playing an all-time great team like the Chiefs, you have to make sure that everything is going well. I'm not saying everything has to be perfect, but defense, special teams, offense, y'all have to all do your job. And with Lamar, with the Ravens, the offense, okay, the offense isn't working. But one thing you can't do is turn the football over. Put your defense in a predicament where they are where the Chiefs offense are close to the red zone area where they have good field position. What Patrick Mahomes did, he didn't do any of that. He made sure that the defense was in a good spot. The Ravens offense wasn't in field position. He made sure that there was no way that the Ravens would have any sort of advantage against the Chiefs defense. That's what the greats do. That's what Patrick Mahomes, that's what Tom Brady has always done. Make sure that his team was not in a bad predicament. And that's why they keep winning championships, is because they keep doing the little things. They keep making sure that the special teams, the defense, and the offense, they're all doing their job. They're all looking out for one another. It's not just, oh, we're just going to rely on the offense. We're just going to rely on the defense. Like, no. This is a team sport. You have to do your job. Each unit has to do their job. And the Chiefs did a better job. They did a better job than that than the Ravens. And the Ravens, Lamar, he just relied solely on the greatness of the defense, and he didn't do his part. He let the defense
Mm,
down. He choked. He
mm,
gagged at the biggest of moments. And he know he did. He should be ashamed of himself. He let the hood down. He let Baltimore down. He let Baltimore City down. And he should walk in shame for the next 7 months because of it. Because of what he did. Because that defense, they played out of their mind. 0 points in the second half, and you couldn't get a touchdown? Really? That's absurd. There's no excuse behind it. And I wore your high school jersey on the podcast. I believed in you. I wanted you to go to the Super Bowl and go up against the 49ers and shut all these Brock Purdy fans up. I wanted you to get your first ring, but you let everybody down, Lamar. You really did. You're going to get your MVP. You're going to get your second MVP. But what do you show for it? You're just like everybody else. You're the best loser. That's all you are. You're the best loser. You lost in the AFC Championship game. Congratulations. You're just like Josh Allen. You're just like the rest of the quarterbacks. Even the quarterbacks that didn't even make the playoffs. You're just the best loser. You're the runner up. Congratulations. That's just
mm.
what it is. Yeah, man.
I saw the
But yeah,
writing on the wall, man. I
yeah.
saw it. I was like, yeah.
It's just
And
sad. It's just
Mahomes,
really
he
sad.
was just from a wild play perspective, he wasn't like, oh my gosh, Mahomes is going crazy. He's not throwing 50-yard bomb. But like he was this is probably one of the best games I've seen Mahomes play from a pure quarterback perspective. Like he was making all the right decisions all game. And it was like I was watching Brady 2.0 out there. I said, is this dude gonna miss a throw? Every
Mm-hmm.
down, he's right play. He's scanning the field. I'm like, dude, this dude is insane. I don't know. I'm glad I get to see this level of play. My dad had Joe Montana and John Elway in them. I had Brady and Mahomes to watch it. I ain't like watching Brady, to be fair, but I had Mahomes.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And it's just so crazy how like Mahomes he could still impact the game even without scoring in the second half. Like he was able to manage the
And
game
you
and
know what's
making sure
funny
that his team
about
was in a
all of
good
that?
position. Yeah.
It seemed like the Chiefs, they weren't really converting them. Like I said, they weren't converting first downs a lot in the second half. Yet they still had 15 minutes of more time of possession than the Ravens,
Mm.
which
Yeah, because
is
that
very
defense was cooking
interesting.
them. The
Yeah.
defense for the Chiefs was just locking stuff down, not allowing Lamar to get any throwing lanes. And Lamar, he was just trying to buy time in the pocket and stuff instead of just trying to rush it. And by the time he was about to, go off and run, it was too late. The pass rush was coming, and so he Lamar just he was just out of sorts that entire game. Like after that touchdown, which I thought that was the beginning of something special. After that play transpired, he was just out of it, and I was very disappointed in Lamar and the narratives. The next 7, 8 months, matter of fact, the next year when we come back, if they come back to the situation, we're gonna remember what happened, and we're gonna talk about the same thing, and we're gonna look at Lamar like, are you gonna get it done this time? And so do you think this was their window? Like, what do you think he's gonna have another window, or is it over?
I think I think they'll be good again next year. But I don't know, I'm kind of getting Bills vibes from this. You know
Mm-hmm.
how the Bills went to that one championship game they lost against I'm kind of getting that kind of vibe. You know, the defensive coordinator, he might go take another job. We don't know for sure. Um, yeah, I'm kind of getting 1 year wonder vibes,
Mm-hmm.
even though they didn't win it.
I think it's hard to say. All I know is the Chiefs are always going to be there. That's the one thing I guarantee. But just like with when we saw with you said the Bills, you brought a good point with the Bills. The Bengals as well. Like we saw the Bengals, they went to the Super Bowl. Next year, they went to the championship game and they lost to Mahomes. And then this past season, they didn't even make the playoffs. They had Joe Burrow. He was out with injury. So you just don't know. Like, knock on wood, like Lamar could get hurt, and they could. Same thing with the Bengals. This past season, they don't make the playoffs, or they're one and done, like they were with Tyler Huntley. So I'm not gonna say the window is closed, but it's very small. I say with all these teams, like it's very small. And the only two quarterbacks that stared Mahomes in the eye and wasn't afraid and wasn't shook was Joe Burrow and Tom Brady. Those are only two QBs. Well, I'll say Josh Allen. I'll say Josh Allen. I give Josh Allen credit, but beat him though.
Okay.
Beat him. Joe Burrow and Tom Brady. Those are only two QBs that stared Mahomes in the eye and said, we're going to win today," and they won. Not too many quarterbacks can say that. And so, Lamar Jackson, can he be that third quarterback until he figures out a way to not abandon what he was great at, and also implementing some of the things that he's worked on, like being a pocket passer, until he figures out a happy medium. We're going to come back the same year. I mean, we're going to come out next year and we're going to be saying the same things. And we're going to be wondering, like, okay, Lamar, are you just a regular season quarterback, or are you a winner? Are you a champion? And until then, it's going to be the same old, same old. Patrick Mahomes is going to keep doing what he's doing. He's going to keep winning against these inferior quarterbacks. And these quarterbacks they're gonna be like what Michael Jordan did to Charles Barkley, to Karl Malone, to Stockton, to Gary Payton and all of them. They're gonna be remembered like that. The era of Mahomes and the QBs that he prevented from getting a championship. That's what they're gonna be remembered as. And
Mm.
will Lamar be the rare case where he's not remembered as just a quarterback that played in the era of Mahomes, but actually the quarterback that defeated Mahomes and got a Super Bowl? Will you be remembered as that? be one of the very few, or will you be remembered as one of the guys that lost to Mahomes, that could never capture a championship because he was in the way? Who knows? Who knows? But anywho, we'll transition.
Cold world, still a cold world. And a couple y'all is cool, but we a little more thorough. Whole time, a little more girls. You know I spit that sick shit and it's still no cure. Hold up, loud packs like I got